Today on Recruiting Hell, we kick off our second season with episode 21, featuring Rex Roy of MyCareerSnapShot.com.
But there's another aspect to the company which to me is important, and it's kind of a social aspect. I hate being out of work. I hate the way it feels. I hate the stress that it puts on me and my family. And I think that that's universal. If you're used to being employed and you're used to having a role to go to and being productive and, getting that paycheck and not having to worry about health insurance and all that, being out of work, and I'm sorry, I know this is a family show, but being out of work sucks. I hate it.
We can say that. We can say that. It does.
Say that. It just sucks.
It's the worst.
And, I genuinely hope that this tool can help people get back to work and get back to work faster and get away from all of those, all that darkness that goes with being, laid off or fired or furloughed.
Hello, and welcome to Recruiting Hell. I'm glad you're here with us today. I'm your host, Rob Gonlin. Welcome to episode 21 of Recruiting Hell. Today's episode has another excellent tool for your job search that we're going to learn about straight from the source. This episode is also an amazing example about the power of networking. And we'll talk a little bit about that before we get into our normal schedule of events here. Networking is hard, hands down. Introducing yourself to others or taking a gamble on a person that you don't know is definitely challenging. There is something to be said about reaching out to others and finding common ground with them, especially when you're talking about business or finding a job. Now, I've been exceptionally lucky lately in that my networking efforts have really paid off in a number of very big ways. By using both LinkedIn and other more personal methods of networking, I've been able to increase the size of my own personal network by over 25% in the past 3 months. That's literally more than 100 other professionals that I can ask for advice, help guide their job search, or find a new opportunity for myself or someone else from. And it's also a great source of guests for this show. So networking, whether by social media or another means, is not only a great opportunity for you to be seen and heard, but it also gives others an opportunity to have the same happen to them, a bit of a pay it forward, if you will. So I invite you as a listener to connect with and follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever. Put my network to work for you. Make sure you have a great intro note, though. We talked about that in the past episode. Networking led me to our guest today. And from an off-the-cuff comment I made where someone else outside my network saw an opportunity to help connect us, I can't remember what or where that comment was, but anonymous LinkedIn user who introduced me to our guest, if you're listening, thank you. All right, now on to the main event. A quick reminder of why we're here. Because if you're listening to this show, you're here for one of two reasons. You'd like to get a new or a better job. Today's job market is tough, and you're in the awful situation I call recruiting hell, where good jobs are few and far between, and scams, underpayment, and ridiculous requirements for entry-level jobs abound. This show is about teaching you to avoid the pitfalls of the modern job hunt and help build you as a person to bring your interview and job hunting game to the next level. The show is here to motivate you and give you the discipline to keep going in your search so you can get out of recruiting hell. So whether you're on your 200th application, 50th rejection email, or second recruiter ghosting you this week, you are welcome at this table to learn new skills to help you win your job hunt. Now, resume and cover letters have been the staple submission for job sites and applications for decades, literally decades, because we've moved into the technological era back in the early 2000s. So we're at 20 years of this. But I'm betting you've seen it more than a few times out there, dear listener, where job applications have room for other supporting documents. Now, the question is, what could you put there? Well, our guest today, Rex Roy of MyCareerSnapShot.com, definitely has something that can really set your application apart. Rex, welcome to the show. It is great to have you on here, my friend.
Rob, thank you so much. And what a great intro. And while you were talking, I was racking my brain because I can't remember who introduced us either. I'm drawing a complete and total blank.
Exactly. There's some LinkedIn comment out there where it says, "Hey, Rob, you should talk to Rex Roy." And it's like, I don't know who said that. But
neither do I. But yes, thank you, whoever said that. That was great.
Good deal. So, Rex, again, welcome to the show. And as usual, the kind of way we do this is we start with you. Who are you? What is the Rex Roy story? Where did you come from? And how did you get here so far today?
Thank you. So I'll try to do it quickly. I am out of Detroit, and I've worked in communications my entire life. As a matter of fact, this is not a figurative comment, I literally grew up in the industry. My dad had an agency in Detroit, and I literally grew up as a kid going down there on Saturdays. I worked there while I was in high school. So I came up through the industry. For those of you that know advertising and some of the old school terminology, I started in the mat room and then worked traffic. So I was a glorified mail person, pushing a mail cart around, taking a copy through the approval process. I did some visual arts training, photography. We were doing early animation in the late 70s, computer-aided animation in the 70s, and I got to work with some guys that were working on that with actually a home-built Tandy computer that would run an animation camera along a track. Neat stuff.
Oh, that is super neat.
And I stayed in advertising, much to my chagrin at some point, because anybody that's in advertising knows that it can be a pretty brutal business, and especially in a town like Detroit, where if you're in advertising and marketing in Detroit, you're probably working for an auto company. And boy, when the auto companies get a cold, the city doesn't just get the flu, it gets pneumonia, and you're on a ventilator, and it can be quite a ride economically. But come through that, and was in event marketing most recently at a company called Jack Morton, terrific company, by the way. And when the pandemic hit, because there are no longer, concerts, major sports events where you have people there, I worked on racing. So there aren't races anymore, auto races with the public invited right now. So Jack Morton's business pretty much evaporated, and they cut their staff considerably. And like I said, great company. They had no way of seeing any of this, just like, everybody was caught by surprise. And they had to cut ranks just to keep the doors open. And I think they'll come back when the event industry comes back. But that leaves an awful lot of good people in the event industry, still figuring out what their next move is. And that's what led to what we're talking about today.
Got it. So COVID might be the mother, they say necessity is the mother of invention. COVID might also be a parent to invention as well. Gotcha. So Rex, it's a great story. And, I'm going to go a little bit off of our pre-talked about stuff here. I love Detroit. I love Detroit because, as you said, the audio industry gets a cold and the city suffers. But every time I've seen in my short life here, I've seen Detroit suffer. Detroit always comes back. And comes back better. Like there was that old Super Bowl commercial from, I want to say 2009 or so. And they're like, Detroit's coming back. And they introduced the Chrysler 200 or 300, one of the two. But I always had that stick with me. I love your town. I've never been, but I just like the fact that Detroit literally takes a punch to the face sometimes and just gets right back up. And I think it's a huge tribute to all the people who live there and the people who decide to continue to do business there. I know there's great companies there, not just the automakers, but like Quicken Loans is out of Detroit, which is kind of a strange place to be out of, if you ask me.
Yeah, it is. Detroit is an interesting town. Detroit can certainly take a punch, and certainly Detroit has punched itself in the face a few times, I'd say. Detroit politics was once described as third world politics, but without the goats. And
wow, okay,
yeah, And it's really interesting what happens when the politics get cleaned up and business is allowed to do what business does, which is, create jobs and opportunity. And I'll tell you, 10 years ago, if you would have said, Rex, I really want to come to Detroit, I would have said, why? It is an interesting town. If you're from here, you know where to go, you know where not to go. But I'll tell you now, as soon as the city opens up a bit more, please do come. The town is terrific. It truly is terrific. There's so much great stuff going on here since the former mayor got put in federal prison. We have a terrific new mayor, Mayor Mike Duggan. His police chief is a guy named James Craig. Man, those guys have done a terrific job. Not only for a business, for companies to do business, but for people to live and work and enjoy. And it's a terrific town. The kind of problems that are happening in other cities like St. Louis or Portland or Baltimore aren't happening in Detroit. It really kind of breaks the expectation that you might have of a traditionally Democrat-run city. Detroit is run very, very well, and it's a good place to be.
That's excellent to hear, because even I'm part of the Rust Belt here with you, from Milwaukee. We kind of poke fun at you guys a little bit sometimes. At least we used to. We don't as much anymore, but back during the Great Recession, we totally did. So, that's kind of, we've talked about Rust Belt cities and things like that. We watched your job here in the latest kind of recession evaporate. Mine evaporated. And that's a lot of middle for me and upper management for you kind of jobs. So what happened with a lot of companies in your area that kind of led you into this ability to be able to pursue your own thing, Rex?
Sure. Well, probably like you, in February, my career was terrific. Business was gangbusters. We were looking forward to a terrific 2020. Then as, February transitioned into March, and the Wuhan flu became known as COVID-19, and we started to understand how serious things were. Things, it was just like somebody started turning the rheostat down. And I saw, the writing on the wall for the event industry. It's like, okay, well, if they're talking about shutting things down where people get together, I need to be prepared if something happens and I need to look for a job. So I dusted off my resume. That's the first thing any motivated person does when they look into the future and they think they might need to find a job, is dust off the resume.
Right.
So I did that. I'm a professional writer. I've got a good resume. But I looked at it and went, okay, it's good, but somebody actually has to read it. I'm aware, just like others, that, recruiters or HR hiring managers spend 4 to 6 seconds looking at a resume.
Right.
And I went, man, I can't tell my story in 4 to 6 seconds in a resume. So I thought about if there could be a different way of presenting a snapshot of my career that could make an impact in 4 to 6 seconds.
So your team at MyCareerSnapShot offers something that can be really used to augment a job application. Tell us a bit about what you folks do and produce for people.
Oh, sure, that's easy. What we do is, with information provided by our clients, we produce a literal snapshot of their career successes. It's really just that simple. And I thought that the best way to do that is using metrics. And as a creative person, I've got lots of metrics in my history. I've been writing, TV commercials for, 25, 30 years. I was a journalist before I was in event marketing, and I've got over 500 bylines published by more than 30 different publications, everybody from, the New York Times to Automotive News. I've been all over the place. I've had thousands of photographs published. I've written a book. In my event marketing career, I produced well over 100 meetings. I've helped car companies in all of my different positions at ad agencies. I launched more than 100 vehicles, including, and some people will laugh at this, I helped launch the Pontiac Aztec, if you can believe it.
Well, that thing is a kind of a monstrosity, isn't it?
Oh my gosh.
Weird looking critter.
Yeah. Yeah. You know how hard it